Okay, welcome to Win the Day live stream where we talk about how to win the day as a real estate salesperson. We got Julie Morris out in Scottsdale, Arizona, Destiny Powell, who operates on the beautiful Emerald Coast here. And I'm not even sure what I do, but I'm here to talk about it. So, what we want to talk about today, it was a little bit, we had a gentleman named Andrew Paul on yesterday. He's a VA specialist, right? He's given his life to the military. He's 100% all in on helping military people get homes using the VA and all the VA benefits and the things you can leverage to do that. And I asked him, how many people are veterans? And he said millions. Okay. Because you can be active and you can be retired and you can be a spouse, unmarried, remarried spouse of a veteran and get all these veterans benefits. And that's a lot of people. But like they don't teach financial wealth and planning in high schools or middle schools or even colleges, they don't teach it in the military either. And so our military folks leave, or PCSI, I don't know how, what do you, when you retire, whatever that is, they get out of the military, or even when they're in the military, they're not trained how to build a life afterwards, such that you have enough money to live a life you want to live without having to, work until you're dropped. Okay. And Destiny mentioned she'd like to bring in somebody to talk here about how to set up a business such for the same thing, wealth building. Is that true, Destiny?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And talk a little to that. What are you talking about?
Well,
what are you saying?
Well, what I'm saying is, we come and we get our license and we just go. We're taught to just go, get in there and start earning. But how do we
lead gen, right?
Lead gen. But once we start earning, how do we set ourselves up for the winter time that's coming? How do we set ourselves up financially for 5 years from now? You talk about investing and how do we set ourselves up to eventually be able to purchase an investment property? And so those steps that we can take, setting up an LLC account and what that means for us as newer agents.
Julie, you took that class in high school, right?
Right. We all had it. Remember?
It was your homeroom class for 8 years in a row, right?
And to Destiny's point, especially in real estate, because the hard thing about real estate is we have peaks and valleys, especially when we first start out. We spend a whole bunch of money up front being told that the sky's the limit. Meanwhile, no one tells you there's no bottom. There's a less than zero that just keeps on going into a deep crevasse. And no one teaches you that. And you're right, that needs to be taught.
It's amazing. When I first got into I didn't get in real estate until I was 35 years old, right? Looking at me, it was like yesterday. But I was in it for a few weeks, and it was, I'm doing my thing, and I went to the broker and I said, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have got into this sooner." And what he said to me is,
13.
Yeah, right. What he said to me was, "Just be glad you are in it now." Right? And I'm going to say the same thing about the VA stuff, about wealth building, about all that stuff. Yes, absolutely, 100%. I wish my dad would have sat me down on his knee and started to talk to me about the importance of money, savings, living under your means, and all that stuff. Yes, no doubt. But they didn't. Nobody did, right? But then eventually somebody did, and I started to figure it out, and I'm glad I did. Now, I have built the last 7 to 10 years of my team around hiring people who with the end in mind, right? Everybody on my team comes on with the plan. They're going to learn how to sell real estate, right? Lead gen, all that stuff. Preview, study, negotiate, all that stuff. Scripts. Because you're going to use those tools to earn income, commission dollars that you are going to then turn into assets, cash flowing assets, assets that move with inflation, all those things that you get wealth. So one day you're working because you want to, not because you have to. It's a different environment, and they come into it and they know it. And those that have lived it are living it now. We got people that have a lot of assets.
The nice things about joining a team is that You can learn
The
early.
right team. Let's be sure about this.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Don't. Yeah. And that's hard to find, but, but the right team is going to teach you, or at least have the answers to the questions, like how to set up your business. Like you said, Destiny,
Mhm.
you know, you need to have a separate business account, separate from your personal account. And then really you need two, one for incoming and one for expenses. So your commissions come in here and then you move it over to your expenses and then you pay yourself. So there's a lot of things. You set yourself up as an S corp or, you know, LLC for tax purposes so that you're not paying taxes on all of the gross income. There's a lot of things to learn. But the other part of it, like you said, John, is being on this team. It's not just about the things that we talk about every day, although that's very important. It's about being on a team that has the same mindset of growth emotionally, physically, mentally, but wealth building as a team where you learn collectively together and not on your own. So you don't have
clear.
to.
Everybody doesn't want that. Some people, I just want to do the deals I do, and that's it.
Most don't. And when people join my team, if they don't have a goal, and I don't tell them what their goal is, but if they don't have a goal of making at least 100 grand, I don't want them on my team because they're not motivated enough, in my opinion.
Right. Right. So Destiny,
Yes.
we were talking about yesterday because Andrew was on. Andrew's a professional expert in VA loans, and he was good, right?
Absolutely, he was.
But our views were not great. So why is that?
I think we, you know, in my opinion, as a newer agent, we have somebody coming into the office, you know, at least once or twice a month that talks about
Especially lenders.
Yeah, all of those things. So we're already flooded with VA information. We get lenders calling us all the time, you know, showing up at our open houses and promoting the VA product. So I think they may have felt ahead of time, oh, I already know this. And I learned a few new things yesterday that I didn't know. But
I already know this. What a killer of growth. Can I tell you what my takeaway was?
yes.
It wasn't even VA related. Wasn't even lending related. My takeaway after listening to him talk for an hour was, oh my word, this guy's a pro. If I ever needed help on a VA, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have than this guy. Can others do it? Maybe, but everybody can do it when it's easy. I bet this guy can do it when it's hard. And I want to work with professionals. I want to work with people I have 100% confidence when the poop hits the fan that these guys are not only there, they're in front of me clearing the way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't need to know everything about VA. I don't want to know everything about VA. What I want to know is who is my guy, who's my gal, that when I need to turn it to somebody, who can I go? I'm going to carry this one step further and we'll talk about this some more. My daughter's getting married. All right. We went and met the wedding planner this week. Spent 2 hours with him. And I was like, I heard, I was there to observe, but I left there thinking nothing about the wedding. The wedding is going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. But I thought, oh my word, this person is unbelievable. They could give a master class on customer service. I'm spending a lot of money on this thing, right? And I left there thinking, I'm glad I got this gal. I am glad the way this thing's working out. I have 100% confidence it's going to be great. It's going to be worth every penny, all this stuff. The way she handled herself, her business, the people around her, the way it looked, felt, presented was amazing. And I couldn't tell you one thing more about the wedding than I knew going in after sitting there, other than I'm glad I'm glad we got these people. So my takeaway from both of those experiences this week were your team might be the people who sit next to you and work in and around you day in, day out, but your greater team are your vendors, your go-to people that you turn to, and you can cultivate those folks. You need to cultivate those folks. You feel me on this, guys?
Absolutely. And the thing I would say is, yes, you want to find people who are great at what they do in the areas that you need help. But when it's your business, real estate, you have to have at least enough knowledge to have questions and to recognize people who are amazing and not. Because if you don't have enough knowledge to have the questions, you're not going to recognize the person who's not good at it. And what you'll discover when you get, a few miles behind you on anything is that you'll see the pros. You'll recognize the realtor who's good at this specific thing. You'll recognize the lender that's great at this specific thing. And you'll know the questions to ask, especially when you have no control over who the lender is. It's the other side of the transaction and you're the listing agent. Mm-hmm. You'll know the questions to ask to make sure that everything's going to line up and you're going to finish on time. But
have you ever been with somebody, talking to somebody or whatever, where you have a pretty good idea what's going on, or you think somebody has a pretty good idea what's going on, and then you hear someone who really does? It's it's like a singer. Like,
that's what Andrew
I'm a pretty good singer. I'm not, but I'm a pretty good singer. Then you wait till you hear so and so. She's really good. Then you go hear a pro. It's like, oh, that's what it's supposed to sound like. That's amazing.
That's what Andrew did.
Yeah, right. That's Andrew. I was like that. I was pretty good at selling stuff, and then I got coaching and all that. Pretty good, all that, and then I found myself in a room with Gary Keller and these top people, and I was like, oh, so that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting.
It's learning a little more every time. Well, and learning to recognize the pros.
It is. And I think it's important to understand that everybody's not for everybody. I deal with a handful of lenders, and I know how to say, okay, he's going to be a good fit for them, or she's going to be a better fit for this family, because of their personality. They're going to deal with the clients. And so it's important to have a couple people in your pocket to be able to pull from.
So smart. Yep. Let's talk about this for a quick minute then. Okay, you have your team. It's not a one-person team, right? If you ever watch baseball, they have starting pitchers, middle relief pitchers, backup pitchers. They got all kinds of pitchers for different situations, right, Destiny? Absolutely. Same type of thing. It's so cool. I saw an ad. I've been watching these lately. In football, you have a backup quarterback. In my view, the best job in the world is the backup quarterback in football, because you don't really get to play very much. You get paid a ton of money, but you don't have to play very much. And then when you do get in, there's no expectation whatsoever. You're the backup. You suck. Just get us out of this mess, right? But so now they got these ads out, and you got guys making just long careers as the backup, right? They never get in, or every now and then they do when somebody gets hurt. But now they got these ads out where they got the husband out there trying to do something and he can't get it done. Time out. We need a backup. And they get one of these quarterbacks that are the backup in football. They know they're the backup. And they bring these guys in, and all right, here comes so-and-so. He climbs up the ladder and starts doing it. Oh, it's nice to have a backup. But it's the same concept here, right? Have your lender for this, or your inspector for that, or your contractor that does good at this, or your whatever that's good at that. Now you have a real team, and you're a working professional.
Right. If you have 2-3 deep in everything, then when someone's busy, you've always got a backup, and you need a backup regularly. You can be having a dry spell for forever, and then all of a sudden you have 2, 3, 4 at a time, and you need the backup inspector, or whatever it is. But you also want to have the pro when it comes to certain specific things. Like whenever I have the moment I hear someone say VA, even though I have spectacular lender choices right where I am, I'm sending them to Andrew. And, and Andrew can do all other kinds of loans, but he is the expert across the country for VA. You wouldn't want anyone other than him, because even if it is an easy loan, here's the thing. I want the person who's going to do the best for me, even if I'm easy. Okay. Who's going to make the process easy? Who's going to make sure that I've got the best program, the best rate, that, all the details come together. The pros know how to do that. You don't even know what's happening behind. You don't have to see the baby being born. You just get it. Here's the baby. Here you go. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go through all the labor pains. You just have them hand you the baby. And it's kind of nice when you have someone who's really good at what they do.
Right.
All right. So let's bring this around a little bit. You need, what do you need? You need a lending finance person. So maybe write down 1, 2, 3 finance, 1, 2, 3. Who's your go-tos? Do you have go-tos? You should have go-tos on this. And then maybe you write down in your own mind, okay, Jimmy Nelson, my go-to over at First Bank of whatever. Awesome with X. Great customer service, very knowledgeable, whatever their thing is, right? and start working on your roster. Real estate, handyman, right? General fixer upper. Who's my 1, 2, and 3? Do I even have 1, 2, or 3? And then I would write down, okay, 1, awesome, can jump in at any time. A little expensive, but always available. 2, awesome with
Every realtor needs title, lender, insurance, inspector. Generally, you're also going to need someone for roof, pools. You guys are also pools.
Inspectors,
maybe
septic
landscaping, septic. We don't have a ton of that, but if you do, of course. But plumber, electrician. Those are the main things. Drywall, paint. I mean, you can make a long list, but there's a couple that you just need to have a bunch of them, especially handyman, because that is, you can go on that out all the time, and then it goes on from there. Windows, glass, window treatments, it keeps going. Flooring.
So, do you have something, Destiny?
No, I'm listening.
So here's the thing. I remember this very vividly. One of my coaches along the way told me, every year, get rid of your bottom 10%. Okay. Get rid of your bottom 10% of listings. And the bottom 10% aren't necessarily price. It's the people are hounding you, bugging you, needy, overpriced, whatever. Dump them. Dump 10% of your personnel. Again, these are the people that are high needy, low production, just pain in the ass. Your vendors, dump your 10%. It's not get ready, replace them. I shouldn't say dump. Replace with somebody better. Always be looking for better. Like we said before, you might think you got it figured out. Oh yeah, so-and-so's really good, until you run into somebody who's really good. Okay? So always be looking. That's the other thing you said. Always be trolling, because you never know when somebody's going to leave. So always have somebody in the background. Always be trolling. It seems hard. It seems relentless. That will chase me to another thing. I heard a guy talking about this in sports, and he said the coach came up to me and said, my job is to work every day to find somebody better than you. Your job is to make sure I can't find somebody, right, that I'm so good at. There's nobody better than me. It's the same situation here, right? If you can find somebody who's better than me at selling properties like I sell, well, dang, tell me about them. I'll hire them.
I'll go.
I'm good.
That's how I view it.
Yeah.
Let me get in front of them so I can learn from them.
Right. I'm good. If you got somebody better, tell me about it. I'm in. Yeah. So, Destiny, can you think of any? Did Julie miss any?
No, I think she covered them all the way down to like flooring, she said, and painting. What I've noticed is even after I've helped a buyer get into their home, they still call me months later. Hey, do you even know a photographer in the area? So always have those resources in your pocket, because they're going to continue.
You should have a Rolodex.
Even after.
And I would try to get 2, 3 deep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
A good way to do that, and a good way to make an excuse to call your database, because everyone has call reluctance to some degree, is to call everybody that you have sold a property to, or everyone who's thinking about buying or selling, and say, what do you do for a living? And what does your best referral? Can I refer business to you? What does that look like? And you can add them to your database. And then the next thing is have you done any projects at your home recently? And have you used service providers? And are there service providers that you can recommend? And they'll say, oh, I've got this great landscaper. They charge $75 a week and blah, blah. And you keep adding that way. And it's a good way to call through your database and really be of use, and also be offering
give value.
Right.
Yeah.
So here, I'm going to take that next step. When somebody asks, hey, who do you use for such and such? Okay, be very careful, right? Because you don't want to take responsibility for crap. The way we do it is we say, all right, who do you use for painting? Well, here are 3, 2, 6 painters that we've heard are very good. All right. Clients have told us that they were good. Will you do me a favor? Will you reach out to them? And if you hire one, will you let me know how it goes? If they were great, great. We'll keep referring them. If they were not great, you got to let me know, because we'll take them off.
Right.
Can you do that for me? Oh, yeah, I'll do that for you. Right. It shows that's the difference between amateur and pro. Right. Yeah, I've got people. They've been, they're good. Right. However, I need your experience, because if they're not good for you, you got to tell me. I'll take them off, because I don't want to recommend people that can't do it. But if they're good, you got to tell me so I can keep them on the list.
Yeah.
Now you have a partner.
People are happy to refer people who are good. And so when you ask them, people will come to mind. And that's a good way to call through your database and connect. And it's a good way to build your referral network. And like John said, you don't want to take responsibility for other people's work. And
You told me you so-and-so.
And refer multiple people and tell them, check them out yourself, ask for the pricing yourself. Don't have pre-negotiated prices. Be very careful. Cleaners, maids. I mean, they keep coming to mind. People that you have referred, and I had one where I referred a cleaning lady, and they used her, and they didn't ask her how much it was going to clean their specific house. And then when she said $600 because it was a filthy pigsty, they're like, "What? We thought that Julie had negotiated a lower rate." I'm like, "How would I do that?"
Goddamn, right? Julie.
And then they wanted me to split the cost with them. So that's where you're like, "What? I get to pay to clean your house? Why?" Yeah, like your point, John, you got to be very careful and not be flippant and think through it. When you refer people, refer more than one and say, "Let me know what you think." Right. Let me know if you think their pricing's fair when you negotiate with them directly.
Right on. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Here's the homework, right? We want to do some actionable stuff here. This weekend, write down the list of services, vendors, whatever, that you can think of. And then write down who pops to mind, right? If they're top of mind, that's a good thing for them. If it's not and you have to go look, well, that's second if you can find them. Third place would be, well, I got to go to Google. Right? Something like that. That'd be last place. But I would work on it, and we'll call it your roster. And you can do it on the computer. You can put it on paper, wherever. I would do that and start filling out your roster. And then next week, we'll talk some about how to build your wealth and who's on that roster. It'll be a little different, right? So that'll be good. Do that. And then last words, Destiny, you got any?
I would say don't be afraid to use Facebook. I did it last week looking for a vendor. I needed a property management person over in Crestview. So don't be afraid to post that and see what other realtors have in their pockets to share as well.
Because realtors are usually happy to share who they use.
Yes.
The other thing is think about who who's in your database, who's in your sphere, and try to go to them first, because the more you can refer to them, the more likely they're going to refer back. And the more you call your own sphere, 100%. The more referrals you get back.
Julie, last words, or was that it?
That's it.
All right. So good. This is some really good stuff, folks. You might want to go back and listen to this. Go to YouTube if you're watching this on somewhere else, but subscribe. We're trying to grow it. Here's the thing. It's Friday. Okay. We want to create a win. So we go into the weekend feeling really good about our future and ourselves. So I like to use lead follow-up. You can never do enough lead follow-up. So follow up with all your leads today, even the slightest whiff that somebody maybe somewhere might kind of once talked about, perhaps. Okay. Call them up. At one point, 25 years ago, you mentioned in passing, you were thinking about selling. Is that still the case? What's the next step? And let them tell you. All right. You know what? You and Mary were looking at that house over on Main Street. Are you still interested in buying? Great. What's the next step? Yes or no, maybe, whatever. What's the next step? Let them tell you. Do that. If you do that, you'll follow up on all your leads. You'll come up with something. You'll go home this weekend feeling good about it. You'll be like, yeah, okay, good. And the future's strong. I'm excited about what's next. That's very a good place to be. All right. So do that. And we'll talk to y'all on Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.